Your bank account did not go down, but part of your money is already gone. No one guessed your password. No one broke into the bank. The number stayed the same, and that is what makes the trick so easy to miss. Inflation does not steal your savings by taking dollars out. It steals them by making each dollar smaller. Slowly, quietly, in public. You can open your banking app and see the same balance you saw yesterday. $1,000, $5,000, $10,000. It feels safe because the number has not moved. But money is not really the number on the screen. Money is what that number can command. It is groceries, rent, gas, medicine, electricity, a dinner you do not have to think about, a problem you can solve because you saved. So if the number stays still while everything it buys moves away from it, something has been taken. Not from the account, from the account's power. That is the first strange thing about inflation. It does not look like a robbery. It looks like normal life getting slightly more expensive. A carton of eggs costs more. The same bag of groceries feels lighter. The rent renewal arrives with a bigger number. The coffee shop changes the menu board, and nobody acts shocked because everyone has already been trained to expect it. But if every ordinary thing rises a little, then your savings have to run just to stand still. And if they do not run fast enough, they shrink. The Federal Reserve describes inflation as a broad rise in the overall price level of goods and services. That sounds technical, but in plain English, it means your money is being measured against a world where the scoreboard keeps changing. $1 is still $1, but the world no longer agrees to give you the same amount for it. That is why inflation feels so personal. It happens in the economy, but you discover it in a checkout line. You discover it when the same paycheck reaches Friday weaker than it used to. You discover it when a savings goal that once looked close suddenly seems further away, even though you did not move backward. The trap is that your brain is built to trust numbers. If the number in your account is unchanged, your brain wants to call it safety. If your salary went up, your brain wants to call it progress. If your savings earned interest, your brain wants to call it growth. But inflation asks a different question. Not how many dollars do you have? What can those dollars still do? That question changes everything. Suppose you saved $100. Last year, that $100 bought 10 baskets of everyday goods. This year, the same baskets cost $110. Your account still says 100. Nothing disappeared from the screen. But one basket disappeared from your life. That missing basket is the theft. No dramatic event. No alarm. No villain in a mask. Just a quiet gap between the money you have and the prices waiting for you. Economists call this purchasing power. It means the amount of goods and services your money can buy. Purchasing power is the real body of money. The number is just the name tag. When inflation rises, the name tag can stay the same while the body gets thinner. That is why a fixed amount of cash can feel solid and fragile at the same time. Solid because it is there. Fragile because the world around it is changing. To measure that change, governments often use a price basket. The Bureau of Labor Statistics tracks the consumer price index by looking at a market basket of goods and services that households buy. Food, shelter, transportation, medical care, clothing, energy. Not one price, a whole pattern of prices. That matters because inflation is not the story of one expensive avocado. One product can rise because of weather, supply, fashion, or panic. Inflation is broader. It is when the average price level moves upward across the things people need and use. But here is where it becomes uncomfortable. Your personal inflation may not match the official number. If rent is half your life, rent matters more to you than a category you rarely buy. If you drive every day, fuel changes your month. If you have medical costs, healthcare prices do not feel like a statistic. They feel like gravity. So even when the official number is useful, your wallet experiences a custom version. The economy publishes an average. You live inside a basket with your name on it. Now, why do prices rise in the first place? There is no single villain. Sometimes demand outruns supply. Too many people want too few goods, so sellers can charge more. Sometimes production gets more expensive. Energy rises. Shipping rises. Wages rise. Materials rise. Businesses pass those costs forward because they cannot absorb them forever. Sometimes money and credit expand faster than the goods and services available. More spending power chases the same amount of stuff. Sometimes expectations do the work. If businesses expect costs to rise, they raise prices early. If workers expect prices to rise, they demand higher wages. If consumers expect prices to rise, they buy sooner, and the expectation becomes part of the machine. Inflation is not always one spark. It can be a circle. Prices rise, so workers need higher pay. Wages rise, so businesses face higher costs. Costs rise, so prices rise again. Not perfectly. Not everywhere. But enough that the loop can become hard to stop once people believe it will continue. That belief is powerful. Money depends on belief more than it wants to admit. You accept a dollar because you believe someone else will accept it later. You save dollars because you believe they will still solve future problems. Inflation weakens that belief. Not all at once, but by making the future more expensive than your savings expected. This is why inflation punishes waiting. Saving is supposed to be patience with a reward attached. You delay spending now so you can have more security later. But inflation changes the deal. If your savings earn 2% while prices rise 6%, your account may grow in dollars and shrink in reality. The bank statement smiles. The grocery cart tells the truth. This is called a real return. The nominal return is the number you see. The real return is what remains after inflation. If your savings grow by 2% and prices rise by 6%, your real return is negative. You have more dollars, but less power. That is one of inflation's cruelest tricks. It can make loss look like growth. A person sees interest added to an account and feels responsible, careful, safe, disciplined. And they may be all of those things. But if inflation is moving faster, discipline alone cannot preserve purchasing power. Cash is safe from market swings. It is not automatically safe from time. This does not mean cash is bad. Cash solves emergencies. Cash pays bills. Cash gives you breathing room. The problem is pretending cash is frozen in value just because it is stable in number. A dollar bill in a drawer is not sleeping. It is aging. And inflation does not hit everyone the same way. If you owe a fixed debt, inflation can quietly help you. The amount you owe is written in old dollars, but you may repay it with future dollars that are worth less. That does not make debt painless. It just means inflation changes the weight of the promise. If you own assets that rise with prices, inflation may lift their dollar value. A house, a business, commodities, shares of companies that can raise prices. Not always, not equally, but assets can sometimes adjust. Cash cannot negotiate. If you live mostly on wages, the question becomes whether your pay catches up. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it lags. And when wages lag behind prices, inflation becomes a pay cut with better disguise. Your employer may not lower your salary, but the world lowers what your salary can buy. That is why inflation can feel unfair even when nobody personally targeted you. It rearranges winners and losers through timing. Who can raise prices first? Who can demand higher pay? Who holds assets? Who holds cash? Who owes money? Who is owed money? Who is locked into a fixed income? Inflation is not just prices rising. It is time moving unevenly through contracts, salaries, debts, rent, and savings. Think about a retired person living on a fixed income. Every month looks predictable. That predictability is the point. But if food, utilities, insurance, and rent keep climbing, the fixed income becomes a shrinking room. The walls move inward. The person did not spend wildly. The rules changed around them. Now think about a young worker. Their paycheck rises, but rent rises faster. Their savings increase, but down payments move away. Their budget is not failing because they forgot arithmetic. It is failing because every target has legs. This is the hidden emotional cost of inflation. It makes people feel irresponsible inside a system that is moving under their feet. You cut small pleasures. Then you cut medium ones. Then you start treating normal life as if it were luxury. And because the change happens gradually, you may blame yourself before you blame the measurement of money. But inflation is a measurement problem with real teeth. It changes what a promise means. A promise to pay you $1,000 next year is not the same promise if next year's dollars buy less. A pension fixed in dollars is not fixed in life. A savings goal written as a number is not stable unless the prices behind the goal are stable too. This is why central banks care so much about inflation expectations. If people trust that inflation will stay low and stable, they can plan. Businesses can price. Workers can negotiate. Families can save. Contracts can mean something closer to what they said. But when inflation feels unpredictable, the future becomes foggy. People shorten their plans. They ask for raises sooner. Businesses change prices faster. Consumers rush purchases. Everyone tries to outrun everyone else. And money, which is supposed to coordinate society, starts making society nervous. There is a reason stable money feels boring. Boring is the point. You do not want money to be exciting. You want it to sit quietly in the background while life happens. When money becomes interesting, something is usually wrong. But here is the twist. A little inflation is not automatically treated as a disaster. Many modern central banks aim for low, stable inflation rather than zero inflation. Why? Because falling prices can create their own problems. If everyone expects things to be cheaper later, they may delay spending. Businesses earn less. Wages come under pressure. Debt becomes heavier. The economy can freeze in a different way. So, the real enemy is not every price increase. The real enemy is inflation that outruns planning. Inflation that moves faster than wages, faster than savings, faster than contracts, faster than trust. That is when it starts to feel like theft. Not because one person took your money, because the unit you saved in no longer holds still. This is also why people become obsessed with protecting wealth from inflation. They look for interest rates that beat it, wages that catch it, assets that adjust to it, budgets that reveal it. They learn to ask a harder question. Not, did my money grow? Did my purchasing power grow? That question is simple, but it is not comfortable, because it shows that money has two lives. The visible life is the number. The invisible life is the power. Inflation attacks the invisible life. And because the attack is invisible, it can continue for a long time before people fully notice. By the time they do, the old price of life feels like a memory from another country. The same street, the same store, the same paycheck, but a different world hiding under the labels. You may still have the savings. You may still have the account. You may still have the number, but the number is not the thing you were saving. You were saving future choices, future comfort, future safety, future freedom. Inflation does not have to empty your account to steal from it. It only has to make the future more expensive than your money was prepared for. So the next time your bank balance looks unchanged, ask the question inflation hopes you forget. Not how much money is there, how much life can it still buy? Because your bank account may not have gone down, but part of your money may already be gone.